What is the biggest thing that orbits every single one of these Formula One contenders in 2026? Each team, what's the big risk? We know we got a really active driver market anticipated for the 2027 season. 2026 is really a big feel it out for the most of this grid, for most of the field. Who's fast, who's not fast, where are the opportunities going to be? A lot of drivers unsigned going into 2027. Starting with Ferrari, though, what is the biggest risk for them in 2026? I think for them, it's losing Charles Leclerc. If Charles Leclerc does not feel like he has a future with Ferrari, if Ferrari have gotten it wrong, if Ferrari are not contending, if they are not giving him the opportunity to go fight for championships, I know the dream is to win with Ferrari. I know the dream and the ambition and the storybook would be for Chuck to win a damn championship with Ferrari. But if 2026 gets off to a bad start, prime years for Charles Leclerc, I don't think he wants to waste them there. And I think he's going to have an available seat at wherever the championship contender very well could be. I'm just saying, it's not going to be impossible. It's going to be really hard to deny Charles Leclerc an opportunity, or at least to sit down and a conversation. I know that he wants to stay with Ferrari. The belief in Ferrari is there. He's won races for Ferrari, but he's never had the opportunity to chase a championship for Ferrari. What about Red Bull? For them, losing their superstar in Max Verstappen, the clauses are a little bit tighter in 2026. If Max Verstappen is not fighting in second place, at the very least in 2026, by the summer break, he could very well activate an exit clause, become a free agent in 27, say sayonara, see you later. It's been real, Red Bull. They have a lot to lose there. Arguably the best driver on the grid, in my opinion, the best driver on the grid at this moment. He's already not very happy with the cars. If he's not in a car that can win, he's going to be pissed off. Mercedes, for them, the biggest risk in 2026 is just not meeting expectations. Mercedes fans, the media, Formula One as a whole, the drivers, every other team in the paddock seem to believe that Mercedes have a championship contending car. All the hype, all the conversation around Mercedes for months, for damn near a year, has been about their pursuit of 2026, getting off on the right foot and being a real championship contender. The belief amongst the grid is that they're sandbagging in Barcelona. They got more in the tank, so to speak. They're hiding. Mercedes are supposed to be the championship contenders. They got to go show it. They really, really, really do. I know that McLaren are going to be in that mix. They have the same power unit. The development track's going to be a little bit different, but this is supposed to be the betting odds favorite year for George Russell. For him, I'm sure he hopes he can make it happen. For Haas, taking a look at those guys, they have to contend and show that they are a solid, at the very least, consistent midfield team with aspirations of maybe doing more, trying to get a, team best result maybe this year, maybe trying to sneak onto a podium, maybe more. Io Komatsu's doing a really good job there. Ali Behrman seems like a budding star. Esteban Ocon's a savvy veteran driver. But for them, it's just about sponsorships. Just not underwhelming in 2026, continuing to build that positive momentum. Haas have something good going there with the Toyota Gazoo relationship. I think that they are in for a solid year. For Alpine, what's at risk for them? Well, the idea that it wasn't just the engines holding them back. Dealing with an engine freeze during their last regulation, they were behind on horsepower. But if it isn't the engines, and they're still finding a way to be slow with what is supposed to be a very, very good Mercedes power unit, there's rot. We're already really concerned that there is, but if it's not the engines uplifting this team and there's other issues there, how much more rot is there underneath the surface is going to continue to be the question. For Aston Martin, it's going to be losing Fernando Alonso. If the car sucks, he signed a long-term agreement. I'm sure there are outs and clauses, but if he just decides to hang it up, retire, and just call it a day at his age, wouldn't blame him. Doesn't want to race for a team that cannot contend, cannot get him inspired to wake up and go racing. I would not be shocked if Aston Martin had a really underwhelming 26. The dude just decides to hang it up. What is at risk for Williams? That's another great question. The hope in James Vowles. The amount of pressure James Vowles has put into the 2026 season, getting 2026 right, getting off on the right foot, missing the shakedown, hopefully not a bellwether for things to come for Williams. Last year, finding the podium twice, huge in 2025, but that's not exactly where they wanted to be necessarily. That's not where they expected to be anyway. 2026, they believe that they're supposed to be able to contend. They're going to make noise. They're really going to do something. They have all these sponsorships, all this momentum. I like James Vowles. I like what he's doing. But if they suck in 2026 with the Merc power unit, with everything that's behind them, I think a lot of people are going to start looking a little bit sideways at James Fowles, for better or worse. Cadillac, that risk for them, it's the hype. You got this American audience. You're an American team. You're building something as the new fresh face in Formula One. If you can't pull together a couple of highlights in the positive direction, crashing the car would certainly be a bad look. Look, the expectations are low for Cadillac, but what you got to bring in is hype to get the fans watching. That's what Cadillac's here to do this year. They're here to figure out what they need to do as a racing team, learn a lot. They are not fighting for wins. I'd be shocked if they're anywhere further than, 9th, 10th place this year, right? I mean, if they're 11th, not going to be a surprise. The expectations are low, but bring some hype, get people excited. For McLaren, it's the clout. Reigning champions. You have a great duo of drivers in Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. You have something here. For them, what's at risk is the credibility in a sense. But I think they've got a really, really, really good aero department. They've got a great staff there. I would be surprised if McLaren are not contending at some level, if they're not in the mix for race wins this year. Again, with what is supposed to be a highly anticipated Mercedes power unit, McLaren are going to be in the mix. They're going to be fighting for championships. I think they're going to be potentially the biggest contender that isn't, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. I think McLaren are going to be in that mix. This could very well be a very interesting 2026 for them. For Audi, it's the confidence in Mattia Binotto. Mattia Binotto is the head over this project for Audi. He is the face of this project. They've got a good driver pairing, in my opinion. I think Gabriel Bortoleto has a lot of potential to be a very solid racing driver, with a lot of potential. Maybe he doesn't live out the rest of his career at Audi, but their goal is to eventually start trying to win races and become a contender. This is the first year for them, as well as a engine manufacturer, a power unit manufacturer. So there's a lot there in backing Mattia Binotto and Wheatley as the guys for the future. So for them, it's kind of getting off on the right foot. You don't expect to win races or anything, but just not being a back marker regularly in this takeover. And for VCarb, it's just confidence in Arvid Lindblad. He's the only rookie, the fresh face in 2026. Everybody else has been here, done that. So for them, and for Red Bull as a whole, kind of, sort of, it's making sure that the choice to go with Lindblad versus maybe somebody else, maybe keeping Yuki Tsunoda in the car, was the correct choice. So he's the only rookie, the least experienced driver on the grid this year. There's going to be moments, there's going to be rookie moments, but you want to see some shine. And if the Red Bull power units are really good as maybe Toto Wolff believes they seem to be, and Mercedes seem to believe they are, and that they could very well be the front runners in the championship, front runners going into 2026. I mean, if the engine's pretty good for VCarb, they could make some noise like they did last year too. Don't be shocked. Liam Lawson's, I think he's a little bit of an underrated driver. I don't think he's, far and away a great, but I think that he can contend. He can hang a little bit. So I don't know. Testing week 1's in the books though. We have another full week of testing. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm not going to lie to you guys. We've had a lot going on behind the scenes, guys, but all good. Believe me, promise. We will be back ahead of the first round in Australia, first Thursday before Australia, as we get the testing underway there. We're really, really, really excited. With that, it's going to do it for this episode of the Lap Podcast. I want to thank you guys for watching or listening all the way to the end. If you haven't joined the rest of the TLPs yet, subscribe to the channel. We're chasing 1,000. 1 with 3 zeros. Costs you absolutely nothing at all to help massively push us up this algorithm with 1 subscription. You can be the next subscriber to this Lap Podcast. Puts us in front of more F1 fans like yourself. We're going to be back for another episode, like I mentioned, ahead of Australia. Hopefully, Kevin and I together to give our preseason predictions, make some very ill-advised, bold statements about what we think is going to happen in 26. But until then, I'm Tristan Ryans. Be safe, be well, and let's go racing.